I get y'all to sign in.
Do you control that? It's good for the attorney to control the mic.
We'll call the meeting order. We'll have the invocation by Commissioner Art.
Bow your heads, please. Dear Lord, we thank you for this night and the opportunity to make decisions for this city that we all love so much. We pray that you would guide these decisions and these discussions. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Commissioner Ashworth?
Here.
Commissioner Thorne?
Here.
Commissioner Arndt?
Here.
Commissioner Max?
Here.
Commissioner Jordan? Commissioner Hawkins?
Here.
Commissioner Skeen?
Here.
Commissioner Safley?
All right, has everybody had an opportunity to review the minutes? And is there a motion to approve the minutes?
I make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
Commissioner Thorne?
Aye.
Commissioner Arndt?
Aye.
Commissioner Max?
Aye.
Commissioner Ashworth?
Aye.
Commissioner Skeen?
Aye.
All right, our first item is PL 1880, Perez PUD, for the rezone of 6.5 acres from R30 to PUD. The subject property is located on the east side of Gwen, south of Starlanded Road. Angel Perez, the owner. Mr. Cardozo, would you please present the staff plan report and comments?
Yes, sir. This is PL 1880. As you mentioned, it's a request to rezone 6.5 acres from R30 to PUD at 2680 Gwen Road on the east side of Gwen, south of Star Landing. Angel Perez, the owner of the property, and Thomas Tello are representing the application tonight. The planned unit development is to provide the development of planned total communities that provide a full range of residential types as well as certain commercial, office, or light industrial uses designed to serve the inhabitants of the districts consistent with the general development plan. With that being said, the general development plan identifies this parcel to be zoned in accordance with rural residential place type. Generally, this is for single-family lots of at least 1 acre in size. Agricultural activities and hobby farms are encouraged. In the surrounding zonings, primarily R30 and AR, the parcel is currently zoned R30, so it allows for 30,000 square foot lots. The PUD in front of you tonight does propose 15 lots, a minimum lot size of 15,000 square feet. There were architectural covenants to be provided with each of the homes, and those are listed in your staff report. The minimum home square footage is 2,000 square feet, and there are some architectural elements on 60% brick or stone exterior. The setbacks and bulk requirements of this PUD are identical to the R15 zoning district, and those are in your staff report as well. The layout of the subdivision most closely relates to that of an R15 subdivision. For the record, I will read the 3 criteria for approval or denial. How this proposed amendment would conform to the general development plan, why the existing zoning district classification of the property in question is inappropriate or improper, and that major economic, physical, or social changes, if any, have occurred in the vicinity of the property in question that were not anticipated by the general development plan and have substantially altered the basic character of the area, which make the proposed amendment of the zoning district map appropriate. So with that being said, the burden of proof is on the applicant to demonstrate those 3 responses, and he's included that in the staff report. Tonight's item is a recommendation to the Board of Aldermen. That proposal is set to be heard next Tuesday at 6 PM. So this recommendation tonight does move forward to that meeting next Tuesday. In your staff report is the applicant's response to those three criteria and the zoning text. The common open space is proposed to be located along the frontage of the road and on the common open space mailbox in the rear of the subdivision. In accordance with our subregs, curb and gutter would be required and sidewalks along all frontages. There is a landscaping plate proposed along the southern and eastern side, but that was not listed in the staff report, and so we can't confirm exactly what that's going to be. And as I mentioned, generally this is an R15 subdivision with a minimum lot size of 15,000 square feet. And in the back of your staff report are the proposed covenants in full detail of what I kind of briefed on just at the beginning of the staff report. Mr. Tello's here tonight representing the application, and I'm available if you got any questions.
Any question, Mr. Cardoza? Will the applicant please come forward and state your name and address in its entirety?
My wife is just gonna help me on that, okay? Can she come on and do that for me? Okay, my name is Thomas Tello.
Address?
The address, 3234 Grayson Cove, Hernando, Mississippi.
Like to tell us?
No, we just wanted to see if we can rezone this piece of property. She's the one that's supposed to be preparing this for me. So,
He's already prepared and said
okay, good.
everything, so you
Okay.
just really want to answer any questions?
now, any questions? I mean,
Any questions for the applicant?
Why not rezone it as an R15 instead of a PUD?
well, we already have a sewer, water and sewer and everything now. And now we can reduce the size of the lots. We have water, sewer, and gas. In the past, we didn't have that.
Did you have any conversation with them about the PUD on the front end? Did anybody come in and talk?
Yeah, very limited, but some. The plan came in, we expressed, first it came in as an R15, and we kind of had some preliminary discussions about the concern of just a straight subdivision and it meeting the comprehensive plan. There were subdivision covenants proposed, and so that's when they came back with a PUD, kind of tied all together, so those covenants would carry through with the PUD, but the lot sizes remain the same.
And they're just, Austin, from your knowledge, there is water and sewer in the area?
There is, yes, sir.
I mean, my biggest concern is everything around it is larger agricultural lots. And essentially, like you said, you can call it a PUD, but it's an R15 rezoning. I personally don't see where it meets any of the three requirements that our city goes by for rezoning.
In addition to that, we've got multiple, like, already approved developments, residential developments going up, as well as currently around 290 homes for sale here in Hernando. So I'm curious as to why we need to kind of flood that market even more with 15 additional homes.
Well, we just wanted to do it. I mean, we got a piece of land for a while, and I'd like to develop, and, and in the future, I mean, I hope that they can be doing something with it. I mean, it's gonna take a while anyway to develop it and get it prepared. So I hope at the end we can.
Yeah, my concern is the general character of the neighborhood. There's no other R15 style size lots generally anywhere in that vicinity. And the surrounding neighbors, that may or may not impact property values of some of the larger lots in the area. Have you considered just keep it R30 and just split that and build 7 lots?
Well, the thing is, I mean, takes so much land, and I like to have more lots. But there's a development, right around the corner, there's a bunch of little houses up there, they're building up there. It's just right there.
Yeah, but it's not R15. He's talking about
What are you talking about?
Andy's Way and all that, I'm guessing.
Winningham?
Yeah, he's talking about Winningham. That's not R15.
It's a puzzle. It's got a mixture of lot sizes. I think it goes up to R30 and goes down to about an R15.
Yeah, that's a bunch of new houses up there too.
But that's, what, 300 homes?
Yeah.
Which is,
Any other questions for the applicant? All right, thank you. Anyone in support against this item, please come forward and state your name and address in its entirety.
or either or, support.
Support or against, either one.
All rows against.
Hey, I'm Randy Tatum. I live at 2643 Rodeo Way, and I'm against this. So basically, me and my wife just built a house there, and we, if we would have thought that 15 houses would be stacked right behind us. I mean, if you go throughout the area, there's nothing like that anywhere near there. I mean, as y'all have discussed, a lot of the concerns I'm going to say have already been discussed by the panel here. It just takes away from the character. And not only that, Mr. Tello's been doing a bunch of digging throughout the years and has actually ruined the entire landscape back there. We've got, there's 4 houses that basically the back of the land just floods because he's created a ramp that basically catches no water. It just comes all the way down and feeds down. And it's just this huge lake. We have pictures of that as well. And she has a bunch of pictures, but it's a mess. And he actually cost me an extra $5,000 on my bill because they were having trouble hooking up the sewage because of all the rainwater. And he's lucky we haven't sued him already. So that's pretty much all I have to say about it.
Hi, my name's Anita Bosley. I live at 2690 Rodeo Way in the Los Lomas subdivision. Excuse me, I'm a little nervous. The pictures that you're looking at right now, one of the questions I have was a permit pulled for that? Or was that just done behind, without you guys knowing about it, without the city knowing about it? It appears that what he's doing back in the back of his property is aggregate mining, and he's creating a field or a quarry for aggregate mining for other projects. There's a history of this with Mr. Tello. He did the same thing in the Los Lomas subdivision years ago. He always stated that he was building a pond, but if you look at some of the pictures from 2012 and beyond, that's not a pond, that's mining. And it wasn't until the city stepped in and made him stop after several complaints from our neighborhood that it finally turned into a pond. But it's as you can see from the pictures, it's all rough in there. It's not anything that would be safe. A question I also have is, with him doing the aggregate mining in the back of his house, runoff was already a problem back there for the folks on the west side of Rodeo Way. So why now would he be permitted to do more when he hasn't even addressed the flooding problem, and let me see if I can provide pictures of those. I think you might already have those photos of the runoff in the neighborhood. I'd like to know, as a resident of Las Lomas, if studies have been done by the developer or by the city as to how local traffic patterns will be affected. Will there be more congestion, particularly with the expected increase in traffic on Star Landing and Gwynn Road with the Agri Center development? I'd like to know if it's going to change my property taxes or my utilities. What are the potential environmental impacts? Has that been studied? Has the Water Association signed off on it? And has the Nesbit Fire Department signed off of it? Water pressure tends to be low during certain times in our area, and adding another neighborhood in on that line could be detrimental to properties and lives. Do what?
We can't all water our yards on the same day.
Yeah, or even take showers at the same time or anything like that. I'd also I have a load of questions. I'd like to know what the timeline is for the project from start to finish. Mr. Telio has a history, and I think the city's aware of this, of starting projects and they just continue on. The Las Lomas subdivision was deemed a failed subdivision because Mr. Telio's lost it. He did not have the finances to finish the project. We were promised a nice brick or stone entrance to the neighborhood and many other things when we purchased in that neighborhood, and they have not come to fruition. So I'd like to know if there's going to be a timeline that the city will place on it for that subdivision to be finished and the dirt work to be finished. I'd like to know if the developer has secured the necessary funding. Is it coming from a bank, or is it just willy-nilly, when he has the money, he'll finish it? I'd like to know, like I said, if that building permit or that dirt work permit, excavation, was pulled before he ever started doing anything. I am a little concerned about what I heard earlier about commercial and industrial things going into that subdivision, if I heard that correctly. Is that what?
He's proposing 15 houses. What Austin was referring to is typically a PUD zoning is more of a mixed use with a mix of residential and commercial, kind of like you're seeing now on the Delta Landing across from the high school, where there's some commercial, there's some residential, typically it's a mixed use zoning, not a straight zoning,
I mean, that north finger of Hernando has kind of been forgotten until recently with the developments around the S-curve on Gwynn Road. We'd like to see it develop into something nice and not industrial or commercial. Fast food or stores or things like that are one thing, but, farming equipment that's there for repair or things like that, it's not something that benefits that portion of Hernando. And I think there are some efforts underway to revitalize the original Hernando or Nesbit right there. And I think it could be, industrial and commercial could be detrimental to that. Will these single-family use places be owner occupation or owner-occupied, or will they be rentals? Are they going to sell out to Progressive? Because you know how that works out. Will the construction activity be monitored to minimize disruption to homes in our area? What measures will y'all put in place to ensure that the developer adheres to the city and community standards and regulations? And will you upgrade those regulations to include our little finger of Gwynn Road? because I think that's important. I think we all want a nice place to live, and we want it to look as good as, you know, any other sections of Hernando. Will there be opportunity for public input or feedback during the planning and construction stages? And I got to be honest. We've lived at our address since 2009. We've had numerous interactions with Thomas Telio or because of Thomas Telio. I am highly concerned with his involvement in this project. He has a history of using construction areas as a dumping ground, as an aggregate mining area. He has a strong history of not finishing his projects. Las Lomas was a failed development, and no one in the city or he have followed up on things that have already been started, either directly or indirectly. I believe there was issues with directly across from Rodeo Way on Glen Road, where there's a mobile or a RV or something in there, and the city was taking action against Mr. Telio on that part. So I think that's all of them. You don't have to answer right away, but
Well, just to address some of the questions that you asked, the city planning office has criteria and standards that they use when people develop. So they would be monitoring what's going on and all of that, so it just wouldn't be checks it out.
okay.
The question you asked about financing of the project has nothing to do with how a person finances a project. We don't get into that.
Okay.
So, and when you're talking about, will you all be able to come back and have responses as the process goes? Now is the time to make your issues known, because once the project starts, that's when the planning commission stays on top of everything and make things as standard as it's supposed to be.
We would definitely want input and updates on what's getting done over there because, like I said, there's a history and it's not a good one. And there have, been other complaints and other failures, and I don't want to see that happen again. Particularly with the runoff and the dirt. It's dangerous. In those rains in April, if there were small children, they're drawn to water. Kids could have died in the runoff. It was that swift and that deep. And so it washed over the road, things like that. So, and I know that Austin had asked us to contact them to talk about our grievances, but because of past interactions, we felt it necessary to do any questions or conversations on the record. And so we chose not to. So thank you all for your time.
One second, any questions?
Yeah, I just want to clarify one of the questions. Just to clarify, this is a rezoning application. So the zone is already R30, which whether we approve or deny tonight's application, the property is still zoned and can still develop houses on that piece of property. The zoning for PUD is not really an R15, but it's kind of mapped out like that for 15 houses, I thought, and I saw on the map. But if it's already an R30, so 7 houses can go on that property regardless.
Okay.
So tonight's just about whether or not it conforms to the general development plan, of whether or not this piece of property should be rezoned from an R30 to a PUD.
Okay. All right.
That help?
It does. It does. I think there's probably others who'd like to speak as well. So thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
And another thing to add to Commissioner Thorne's, so we can only make a recommendation to the Board of Aldermen. So no matter what the outcome here is tonight, in your favor or in the developer's favor, that recommendation will go to the Board of Aldermen, and they will have the ultimate say-so in the rezoning.
Right. I understand. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else in support or against this item?
I'm Thomas Plunkett, 2755 Gwen Road, Nesbit. I hope Mr. Tello won't take this personal. I've known Mr. Tello for quite a while, and I worked with him somewhat. 15 houses on 6.5 acres of land. First of all, I live right across the road, 2755 Gwen Road. That's where I live. Been living there. I know I don't look like it, but I've been living there ever since 1943. Right across the road there. I know about all of that area in there. Mr. Tello have what I would say a nice subdivision down on that property, down below. But 15 houses, just think about what kind of people is going to move into that housing. The county won't let me build hardly build a chicken coop on less than an acre of land. So I feel like that to build 15 houses on 6.5 acres of land could cause a real problem. I will say, speaking back to the subdivision that he already have over there, my wife and I, we do a lot of walking in that subdivision. There's a lot of kind people in that subdivision. But they are not people that live in 2 or 3 people living on 1 acre of land. They are very kind people and this type of thing. So I would have to say that I actually disagree with 15 houses being built on 6.5 acres of land, because I feel like that would, what kind of people are going to be in that neighborhood. So, any question for me, I'll try to answer. Thank you all for the opportunity.
Thank you for coming out.
Anyone else?
I'm Melody King. I live directly behind the other side of where you're planning on the houses being built.
Address.
They need your address for the record, ma'am.
2703 Rodeo Way. This is just the other day, me trying to cut my yard in the back where all his runoff has added about 4 inches of mud underneath the grass that I've never had to deal with till lately. It took me 4 hours to get my lawnmower out of the mud. You can't see it very well, but this is his property up here that he's cleared. Then there's a ditch. The ditch is gone. All this mud is filling where where the flooding comes in. It's like I said, there's so much mud underneath the grass that you can't hardly move. And it's just a straight downhill mudslide to right where he quit developing, right where the line is, everywhere he's cleared this off. Tello done a lot of the work when we were building our house. And we didn't have the best quality of what was done and what was supposed to be done, what ended up being done, ended up being different. Prices got enlarged as we went. Not that much, and all of a sudden it's like almost $3,000. There's a lot of difference and not that much. But my house, I got an appraisal not long ago. I had a hard time getting an appraisal because there's not that many houses. We have the largest house in the subdivision, or almost, and we appraised for over $540,000. I don't need little tiny houses being built right behind my house. This is a lifelong investment. And I don't need it crashing to the ground because the whole subdivision is changing. Where we're at was big, lots, big acreage, supposed to be able to have a barn or a couple of horses. Los Lomas, it was named for horses. I mean, it's just, we moved to get out of the country and out in the country and out of the city, and you get a little bitty tiny subdivision with a ton of houses. It's just defeated the whole purpose of the move. I said, it's not fair to all of us that checked out what was supposed to go around us before we moved there. This wasn't in the plans. I'm also concerned with the lots. He built up the side, it pulled all this dirt out on the side road. That property sold to somebody that wants to build a huge church there. And I don't know if this has anything to do with trying to get them approved to get a church put in there. But they've had some picnics and stuff out there on the grounds. It's hard to sleep when you got like 100 people out there beside your house having a big picnic on the land. I don't know if this has anything to do with trying to get that zoning change for that area too. I'm concerned with that. You get a church, you get a whole lot of cars, a whole lot of traffic. I know this is not necessarily the very same thing he's asking, but it could be related in changing the whole look of the subdivision. Mostly, like I said, I think we're all concerned about our home values and the change of, where we live.
Anyone else in support or against?
Austin, is a church approval use on R30?
Can I say something?
Yes, sir. I'm not familiar with the church project at all, but a church is almost allowable in any zoning district.
You get a chance to do rebuttal. Wait, anybody else in support or against this item?
My name's Nathaniel Von Allman. I'm at 2615 Rodeo Way. So we were one of the first ones to move into the subdivision. We built the house not with Thomas. They're the ones that got foreclosed on. We had our own house. We are kind of at the bottom of that hill, so that flooding comes to our house. That's where it all comes. I know right now we're talking about more of how much houses can be built, and that's the zoning problem that you're really looking at. But even with that, that just means more flooding will come our way with the different houses being built. I know you said 7 if it stays the way it is, 15 if you guys go to the new way. So we'd appreciate, if it does happen either way, that we could work that into it where it just fixes some of that flooding issues. To go along with that, I back up everything else, second everything they all say. They've got the pictures to prove it. We've pulled it down from Google Earth and other places. We have pictures on our phones. The flooding's gotten worse and worse. In April, I was coming home from military duty, and watch the come over the road, the water over the road. I'm like, okay, this is new. So I know that's not your guys' main concern tonight. I know it's about the actual rezoning and changing. I have nothing against Thomas. He's a good guy. But I just want to make that known that, we do want to keep our houses safe. We do want to keep our property value up. That's where we're really looking at. Eventually we may stay here forever. We may move. But if we do choose to move sometime, I'd like to have a good, comfortable nest egg when we sell the house. You already said there was 290 houses that are for sale in Hernando right now. So, do we really need 15 more at the present time? Or even 7? Any questions for me? Thank y'all.
Go ahead. No, it's you.
Okay, my name is Enrique Plunkett. I just purchased a house at 950 Rodeo Way. And that's just a few months. And I've seen some things, they've really covered a lot of things that was part of my issue. But I've seen some runoffs. I don't understand why they would let somebody build something or do something that hadn't completed what he already done. Because it is a bad situation for that flood. I just don't understand that. But I'm not gonna repeat what everybody's already said, you know, but that just, it don't register to me. I'm against it. I guess y'all can figure that out. That just don't make sense.
Anyone else in support or against this item? Okay, you can do your rebuttal.
I just want to tell you something about her. When I was doing the pond that I was doing, she even called the police on me just because I was digging way up there. She said that erosion is going to go to her house. She lives way up there on top of the hill. She had nothing to do with that, me doing the pond. She was against me since day one. She even called the police because I talked to her. When I talked to her, he said, you get my property or call the police. She called me on me just because I said, ma'am, I'm not doing nothing to you or the property. That lady's been against me for day one, that's all I can say. I'm a minority, I would like to have something done. I don't know why they are against me. I had nothing to those people. And what they said they flooded, this water has been running for years. I didn't create the flood. The flood has been there for years. I didn't change the landscaping. I didn't change anything. This is the way it is. It's the way it is. The runoff is right there. I don't care what happens. And like I said, it's been put down for years. And that church deal, I had nothing to do with that either. So I like to have my subdivision. I like to have my subdivision. Other people have it. Why can I do it? You know, that's all I can say. That person has been against me for day one just because I was digging the pond. You can go up there and look at the pond. It's clean as they can be. It's nice. People love it. People around it, they got the fish and everything. She wanted me to stop, just regardless what, because of erosion. The erosion had nothing to do with her. She was way on top of the hill, about 3 or 4 houses away. That person is a mean person. She hates me. That's all I can say.
Okay, hold
We're not here to
on.
mediate between the disputes between neighbors. I was here late, so I'm probably gonna have to abstain from this. My concern is this is a regressive zoning. I did study the packet. It's a regressive zoning from an R30 to essentially a 15,000 square foot lot. I don't plan on voting. I would vote against it if I had been here the entire time.
Excuse me, I'm sorry. This is on the record, and I feel like I need to defend myself. When the police were called against Mr.
Ma'am, this is not the time or place for that.
It won't, that won't be in the minutes, I promise you.
Didn't go down the way he said.
All right.
Oh, before we move forward, could I say something? Because I was thinking the same thing that you are. You know, one thing that we've talked about is that one thing that we need in Hernando moving forward is we're having a lot of subdivisions that are going up with smaller lots, houses close together. We do need some more of those homes that sit on larger lots. And we don't want to just completely abandon that as we approve these subdivisions every time. And so as you look here, everything around it is AR. So what's going to happen is if this gets approved, the next one's going to come in and want to change the zoning for that, and then it's going to be the next one and the next one. And next thing you know, you have all of this property that could have been large lot homes sitting on a bunch of smaller homes crammed in these locations. So I think this is one of those opportunities that we have to kind of stick to the plan and have these larger lots. Now, as far as my voting goes, I came in a little bit late. You can determine whether I heard enough of it to vote or not, but
feel that you're able to make a vote, but it's something.
I mean, I feel like I heard the majority of what was said, but y'all have to, I don't know what I missed, so.
You have the same packet we have, so.
Okay, yep, that's true. So that's kind of my feeling before we go to vote on it is this is one of those opportunities we can have an opportunity to stick to the plan. But Austin, everything around it was AR, and it was at some point rezoned probably to R30 through the county and then annexed in.
It may have been the city, to be honest, I don't know, but it is R30 now.
Okay.
You'll be giving a recommendation to the Board of Aldermen.
Mm-hmm.
Final decision lies with them.
Yep.
If you feel that you were able to make that decision? I think you were only
Well,
three.
it's like Max said, I mean, I've had the packet, I've read through everything and all that anyway, so.
And I apologize for being late, so.
All right. So is there a motion to approve, deny, or table this item?
I make a motion to recommend denial of the rezoning requested by Angel Perez, the owner of the property, 6.5 acres from R30 to PUD. Subject property is located at 2680 Gwen Road and on the east side of Gwen Road, south of Star Landing, based upon the following findings, 1, 2, and 3.
Second.
Commissioner Thorn?
Aye.
Commissioner Safley?
Aye.
Commissioner Jordan?
Abstain.
Commissioner Art?
Aye.
Commissioner Max?
Aye.
Commissioner Ashworth?
Aye.
Commissioner Skeen?
Aye.
The motion to deny this item passes, and you can, it's just a recommendation to the Board of Aldermen. And then you'll just show up next, when they have the next Board of Aldermen meeting, and then it'll be addressed again, and they'll make the final decision.
Yeah, you're good.
Next item is PL 1890, northeast corner of Mackinville and I-269. Request for a rezoning of 68 acres from A to PUD. The subject property is located on the northeast corner of Mackinville Road and the I-269 interchange in Section 32, Township 2 South, Range 7 West. Ms. Cados?
Yes, sir, this is PL 1890. The request is a zoning map amendment and a preliminary development plan approval for Mackinville Exchange, the north side of 69, east of Mackinville. Dahlhoff Design Studios here tonight representing the owner. Ben Johnson's here tonight also representing the owner. The request is to rezone 68.75 acres to PUD. The future land use map and the general development plan identifies this property as mixed use, which in this case provides for a broad spectrum of land uses complementary to each other on or located near major thoroughfares. Small-scale retail, office, residential uses mix well in these instances. The recommended zoning districts are C4, plain commercial, plain business, plain unit development, or T&D, traditional neighborhood development. This is the same criteria as the last application, as this is a rezoning. And the applicant did provide responses to each of those. The conformance with the general development plan, how this zoning district is inappropriate or improper, and the economic, physical, or social changes that have occurred in the vicinity. The responses on the second page of your staff report. A couple of highlights of the plan. As you see in the third page of your staff report, there's a variety of lots of the preliminary development plan, the highlights of which would be the two connections to Mackinville Road. And so it is built in the plan where the existing lots 6, 9, 10, and 13 will not have direct access to Mackinville Road. Everything will have to come in internally. And lot 19 would be a big box site proposed. And so all the uses in the proposed PUD are commercially focused. There's no residential component. And the base zoning is very similar to C2, which is where they got their starting list from their base uses. And they did narrow that down to screen out a lot of the uses that are incompatible or they felt would be something that they didn't want to have within their development. There is public water and sanitary sewer services planned and provided for, and all the necessary approvals would be completed by the applicant. If approved, this would serve as a preliminary plat, so that general lot layout would serve as that preliminary plat if it was to come back. There are associated design requirements, and so in addition to our design standards, they did propose some additional standards as were recommended by us. They did trim down their allowable uses of facade improvements, and so all the buildings will be at least 75% brick, stone, wood siding, or fiber cement board, which does go above and beyond our design standards. And all lighting standards are above and beyond ours with the lumens in section E on page 11 of their staff report. There are streetscapes provided in the plan that show the street trees and buffer yard requirements along Mackinville and the internal streets. And those plates are located near the back of their staff report, but it shows general the planting schedules and what would be expected along those boulevards. There is a roundabout proposed in the middle of the development. And there is some verbiage in the staff report and in their PD regarding signage, which is something we recommended, because as you guys know, 69 is a prime corridor, especially McInville Road, and so a maximum of 1 ground mounted sign for each lot, a maximum of 8 feet. And then there are some hotel uses provided along the 69 corridor, and there's some language about their proposed signage as well. There is some phasing language in the development plan. 5 or more phases. It is loose at this time just because of the scale of the development, and it's subject to change. But generally, the first phase of construction is planned to begin in 2026. The full set of uses are in the staff report, and as I mentioned, those were trimmed down from our own zoning ordinance they pulled out from the C2 district. Most notably, and I know that's a question that's come up in the past, is a convenience store is allowable by conditional use, so it would not be allowable by right. It would have to come back in front of you guys. As in the last application, it's set to be heard at next Tuesday's meeting, y'all's recommendation at 6 p.m. And I did provide proposed motions to approve, deny, or table in your staff report. Michelle's here on behalf of DT Design, and Ben Johnson's here representing the owner tonight. I'm available if you got any questions.
Any question, Mr. Cardozo? All right, ma'am, please come forward, state your name and address.
Ben Johnson, 850 Insight Park Drive, University, Mississippi. I'm a real estate broker with Randall Commercial Group. And when we first started to look at this project several years ago, or the land anyway, the school was really the big catalyst for us. You know, I understand there was a potential, or someone tried to put industrial out there, and that failed. Once the school got out there, we really felt like the synergy was there, and then of course with Delta Landing. And Austin, let me ask you, are we going to project that layout? I'll try to keep it short and sweet. So we really felt like Hernando was missing that marquee commercial development, a large scale, you know, not something that is smaller, not that there aren't commercial developments, but Commerce Street, as you guys know, can get pretty congested, and we feel like this project will pull similar uses, retail, restaurant, medical office, professional office. We'll pull that, and it would be good for the community. This is not something that we're looking at as this is an interstate exit and what you might see there. We feel like this will be long-term, something that will be great for Hernando. And Austin mentioned several phases of the project. I mean, this, and we've worked closely with Austin and Chip on this. You know, we came in from the beginning that we didn't want to come before you guys and the board proposing something that they didn't feel like was in line with the long-term goals and the master plan for the city. So as Austin mentioned, we don't really see any residential uses here. You know, we're 68 acres, and by the time you account for the on-site detention and the infrastructure, interior roadways and all that, we just felt like, you know, we're naturally bound by waterways on the north side and on the east side, and then the interstate to the south, McInville to the west. You know, this development touches no residential at all. You know, the school is really our only directly adjacent neighbor. So, but as far as the phasing goes, you know, it really just depends on the end users and how quickly they come forward. I've got a preliminary list that is obviously confidential at this point of some good national retailers and people that I think you guys would be excited to have. I think ideally, as far as a phase one, it would be basically the frontage lots along McInville, most of the frontage lots along McInville, and basically the horseshoe entrance that we would have. I'm sort of anticipating at this point that the rear of the site and probably the lots along 269 would probably be later in the phasing of the development. So we're really looking at, say, lot 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and possibly 11, 12, 13 if the need was there. So, you know, again, we're really excited about this project. You know, if we get approval from you guys and obviously the board next week, we've got some meetings that would happen right away, and hopefully we could begin negotiations. So anyway, that's really what I have. I mean, I feel like this would be a great project for Hernando. Are there any questions for me from you guys?
I had a few questions about the uses that were permitted. I saw one of them, I think it was number 16, I don't know if you have it in front of you or not, but I'll read it if you don't. Processing and manufacturing incidental to a retail establishment, but which create no noticeable obnoxious effects to surrounding property owners or tenants. I think that that's worded well to prevent any kind of issues, but I was wondering if we could make that a conditional use. That way it's something that we could come back and consider depending on what it was, instead of it being just an allowed use.
Right.
From the get-go. Would that be something y'all would agree to?
I think that's something that we could consider. I'm not the sole decision.
I don't think
maker on
I don't think it's
that.
probably, it's worded well, but
Yeah.
you just never know what's coming along, what's coming next.
Right,
So
right.
that would just be my concern when I saw that.
Go ahead.
Just Michelle Yee, 1350 Concourse Avenue, Memphis. So I just wanted to add that could cover something like, for example, a soap shop or candle shop where they're like making some of the processing in the store.
Wouldn't have any issues with that. I don't think anybody up here would.
Yeah. So it's really just anything that you would not notice from the public.
Well, I mean, I just didn't want it to be a marijuana manufacturer or
Right.
something, that comes along. Anything, and that's probably an extreme example, but just thinking something.
Now, and we do have that prohibited, the marijuana
Oh, is it?
manufacturing, don't we, Austin?
Yeah, and
We just don't, we don't have it listed
Well,
on.
that was gonna be my next question
yeah,
too,
yeah.
about CBD and vape stores. It kind of, number 19 didn't exclude that. It seemed kind of open.
Well, I had a question about number 19, because you had mentioned before that the convenience store would be a conditional use later, but a convenience store is listed in item number 19.
So the pumps, you could do
Convenience store is not a conditional use if you add gas to the convenience.
that's what triggers it, yeah, similar to C1. You could do a general retail store, but you could not do the pumps to make it a gas station.
Got it.
I think we would, but I would just have to confirm it on our end first. I don't want to speak on someone else's behalf as well, being the owners, but, and again, as Austin said, we really took the C2 zoning and kind of trimmed it down a little bit, so that is a trim version that you're looking at. We called, I don't remember exactly how many, but several uses that we didn't feel like would be appropriate for the development.
So my, oh, sorry.
Would you exclude CBD and vape stores in number 19?
Yeah, I believe in
Yeah.
the, Austin, in the code, they're kind of listed as separate uses. So we could probably clarify those to be either conditional or.
And that's fine if you want to make it
Yeah.
conditional.
Yeah.
I think that'd be fine too.
And I really am not imagining a vape shop fitting into what I feel like that would hurt us in selling, what goes next to it. So we're going to be, very mindful, because what we do in phase 1 affects who wants to be in phase 2, or who wants to be the first movers in phase 1 affects how quickly we can sell the rest of the lots. And, right now, this is a civil project for us. We're anticipating selling lots to end users. If someone comes along that needs a facility built, I'm in the construction business as well, development side, I would consider jumping in and building a facility for someone, but as of right now, what you're looking at is what I intend to construct more or less without the buildings, just having pad-ready sites.
Are all those structures freestanding, standalone buildings? Are they like strip mall, sort of like multi-bay structures?
Right now, in phase 1, we're anticipating more freestanding, single-use end users. But, if someone,
I wouldn't say strip mall.
Yeah.
I know the thing, it's like multi-bay.
yeah, it's a multi-bay strip center.
So like one building might have 3 bays, another building might have 3 bays, but each structure is independent of each other, which then could be one business, right?
Right. Someone that wants to go in, and that's another thing, construction costs are incredibly high right now. Interest rates are the highest that they've ever been. I'm turning 42 this year, and I've never dealt with this type of interest rate environment. So I could easily see, we've got a physician that we're talking to about a practice, and if they came along and said, yes, I want to build a practice here, but I want, a 3,000 square foot bay next to me to lease to help offset, I think situations like that, I could easily see that happening, but I don't anticipate a bunch of small strip centers on this, just the way that just the pricing of the property and, but again, we've got, I think we laid out pretty well, that uses could, it's just hard to predict the future when you've got 70 acres of commercial. I mean, that's a big commercial development.
But you see the position we're in then too,
Yeah.
it's hard to predict the future.
Right.
That's what puts us in an odd spot.
Right,
And that kind of
absolutely.
brings me to another thing that I was gonna mention. You said y'all think or I think Austin, you mentioned, you think 2026 would be when you probably would break ground on something like this. And that's well and good, and I know we've had issues in the past with PUDs and nothing happening on them for years and years. I can think of one right across the street. And I know we've talked about in the past, just putting if nothing happens on it in a certain time period, we can put some kind of language in there in the approval that it has to be, construction of some sort has to begin, dirt moving or something, within a certain time period. I'd like to see something like that in there.
So we've got
Or the
language in the
PUD
ordinance
basically
now.
dissolves.
We've
is
got
what
it,
you're
it's just
saying.
not automatic. There's language in the ordinance now where I believe it's 4 years. Don't have the ordinance in front of me. But
So that has been updated since these others were.
And but the deal is it's may consider going back. So it gives the board the authority to go back and rezone.
Well, and I think that's what we ran into with where Delta Landing is currently. I think that was what we
That's
ran
right.
into. It had not been done.
Yeah, it
So
gives them the
that's-
authority to. There are, I mean,
I think an automatic reverter is what I'm referring to.
Gotcha.
Not to put you in a bind, but
Yeah,
if you're not gonna
right.
do anything on it for 4 years, for example, and I think 4 years is probably about right. I mean, I wouldn't have an issue with that.
That's pretty generous.
Yeah, I would be on the hot seat long before.
I would think
But,
so.
But I will say this, Nick Croonin is our civil engineer, who I know you guys are familiar with as well. And we talked about today on the way up, that the MDEQ permit, because of the staffing in the state, is taking 8 to 9 months from the date you apply. And we really don't want to apply until we know that we're approved by the board, because we've obviously already, put a pretty good bid into the project that's not approved yet, just between the cost of the PUD. So, so that in itself is going to push us into 2026. But ideally, we're breaking ground within a year.
Yeah, and I've got no issue with that at all. I just didn't want to be 6 years and the whole market has changed and.
Yeah, you can see where our position is, right?
Absolutely. And, the way things are trending out there, I'm also the broker on, this is the northeast quadrant, on the southeast quadrant, where we have a national retailer that, I'm just the broker on that one, but we've got a developer for a national retailer that just moved in, and they're under contract to purchase that. I got word recently that the real estate department of the retailer approved the project. I know Austin and Chuck are aware of what I'm talking about. And just with that and what's happening at Delta Landing on the commercial side, I mean, the school getting open, I mean, will likely, that's going to really, I think, kick things off there from, and on all standpoints, but especially on the commercial, because really not anything out there right now. Not much at that intersection. So, but back to the comment about, the vape shop and the marijuana dispensary, that's not really something we see in here. So I feel like I can say on those that we don't want.
So we can make those conditional uses instead of.
I guess conditional uses would be fine, although I don't necessarily, that's just really not the direction that we're trying to go.
Well, and I mean, we can make them excluded uses, but, you know, conditional uses, if you wanted to bring them
Yeah,
up.
I say we keep them at conditional uses, that way if the sentiment is different in 5 years or 10 years, you guys still have the authority to reject that on a specific
I'm
basis.
not trying to make everybody dizzy on the TV, I'm just.
I think that's a fair way for both of us to
My biggest
look out
concern
for the community. And
My biggest concern with it, I agree, totally think this is much needed for the community. I love the location of it. But the hotel is the biggest thing I have concern with it being right next to the high school. Like, I'm not okay with having a hotel, major hotel, right next to the high school. And I don't really see the need for it either with all the other ones that have been recently approved nearby.
One exit up.
So that's my biggest concern, is the hotel being right next to a high school. I can't think of any other high school in the county that has a hotel next to it. So being along 269 corridor could be appealing too, but I think there's other available properties and developments for that as well.
Yeah, and I understand your point on that. That's really, I'm not currently in discussions with anybody, although we're early on. There are no current discussions. They're not on my list at the moment as far as people that have reached out to me with serious interest. But I guess we're really thinking long-term about what it may look like out there in 10 years. You know, you've got an unbelievable high school. I mean, my mind was blown how much progress has been made in the last couple of months out there. And, you know, you've got athletic events and, you know, big residential growth in Delta Landing and others on the way as well that, and we're really anticipating the hotel, if there were a hotel, it's been discussed more along the interstate, you know, lot 14, 15, 16, something, that area is more elevated with some visibility. But I understand the concern as well.
And I think our approach is really at this point to not limit something that could be a significant contributor to either another use that's on site. So for example, maybe you have somebody that wants to move a corporate headquarters here, you know, a hotel could be a really good kind of compatible use with that. So I think at this point, we're just thinking about, you know, how to kind of attract some of those like really high quality users on the site, and then piece the development around what is going to come.
Like I say, my concern is, like I say, being right next to the high school, and there's literally 3 hotels that got approved on the southwest corner of the interchange. There's 3 more down at Getwell in 269 that's been approved. So, not to mention the new ones already down Mackinville. I don't like it being next to a school. I understand it being next to an interstate, but it's also next to a school.
Right. And again, to Michelle's point too, you know, it's, you know, we know that Hernando is growing and we know what it will be likely 10, 20 years from now. But this site reminds me a lot, if you guys are familiar in Oxford, with the Oxford Commons development that's off of Highway 7. And we did a lot of brokerage on that and worked closely with the developer for that project. And everybody, you know, said, oh, this is Oxford, you know, it's going to grow so fast. And, you know, it really didn't happen like that. You know, it was a failed project for a while. And then the high school came in, an elementary school, and it was still slow to develop, just, you know, again, right now, the cost of construction. So, you know, we have to have some commitments on the front end for us to be able to move forward with the project. You know, and we feel like that will happen, but like Michelle said, it's such a big development that we hate to come out of the gates limiting our uses. And I don't anticipate that to be a site that's, you know, heavy on hotels or something like that at all, especially with what, you know, you're going to have somebody comes in and wants to do a hotel. They're obviously going to look at what the PUD on the southwest quadrant. But, you know, we hate to limit ourselves right on the front end because, you know, we just don't know what the market demand is going to be at this point fully.
All right, one more thing. I'm not
Yes,
trying to
sir.
beat up on y'all.
No,
I like
love
the
it.
project. I do like the
love it. I
project.
mean, I'm really, was excited to hear feedback, so please fire away.
I just noticed that there's a vehicle wash is listed in the allowed uses, but then it's a car wash is a conditional use.
Yeah, it's weird. It's two separate
Yeah,
items.
we did catch that. I think that was the old plan, so it's, I think conditional use only, correct?
We left it in, allowed.
Okay, so that, we need to clarify that in whatever motion we get to.
So vehicle wash, car wash, same thing we're talking about, I think. But,
Yes, yes.
You want them, they're a conditional use or they're an allowed use?
We have them as an allowed use right
Yes.
now,
Right now, we have it as an allowed use.
Which, it shows up as a 22 is a vehicle wash, Austin, then, and it calls itself a car wash, or it's
No,
called
I'm
a
not
car
looking
wash.
at the plan documents, I was looking at.
Oh,
In
that's
the
why.
conditional
We
use.
caught it in doing the staff report. In the actual plan, it's fixed. It's the screenshot I took, I guess, about a week ago is what the incorrect one is. So in the plan, it is only allowable use.
Okay, so the.
On page 10 of their proposal, we'll fix it before it gets to the board, but it's a proposed permitted use.
Permitted use.
So my question was kind of, with the things, kind of like I said at the last item, like with the things that have already been approved, I was curious as to whether or not, like Hernando and what it'll kind of be, will have the commerce to support two kind of major retail developments at back-to-back interchanges off of that 269.
I'm sorry, could you repeat that? So
So
The other-
at last month's meeting, we approved another retail development at one exit up from here.
at Getwell?
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
So I was curious to hear kind of your thoughts on why you feel like Hernando has the commerce to support that.
I mean, honestly, if you want my opinion, Mackinville will be the commercial corridor. You know, you've got 5 lanes of traffic there, you've got the utility infrastructure to support it. It's closer to the core of Hernando, and, you know, we're not the first movers, we're the third out there, if you're counting the school, which we consider to be, you know, a big deal, and then Delta Landing, which, you know, he's moving at an incredible pace right now.
Right, and I
So-
kind of answered my own question when I mentioned at the last item that we have all these developments and 290 homes for sale, so.
Yeah,
we
well,
likely will.
I was fortunate enough to be in here in November, December, I think it was, for rezoning on another project where there were a couple of projects that were up for approval on Getwell, and I got to hear everything about the infrastructure is not being there and all that. But I think that's the bigger thing, that we've got adequate utilities and we've got adequate roadways, and, you know, it just, to me, makes sense.
Does make sense.
Any other questions?
If there are some items that we feel we need to move to conditional use, is there anything that we're really thinking about? Anybody got some serious concerns of things we would?
I'd like to do that 16, and I'd like to.
That's the things I circled as we went through. Was
hotel wouldn't be a
hotel,
bad one, but.
motor vehicle sales, service repair thing was one I circled, just as in the processing. If there are some things like that that we may want to consider moving, would that be a table for tonight, and you guys come back and discuss it with owners, or do you have the authority to make those decisions?
Just depending on which one it is. You know, if it's something that I've already discussed with them and we're on the same page about, you know, like the dispensary and the vape shop deal, then, you know, I feel like I've got the authority on that, so.
Also, really quick, there is currently a for sale sign, like literally right next to the red zoning sign. Is that contingent on approval, or what's the deal with that?
I think it says property available, or does it say for sale?
It says for sale
For
in
sale.
huge letters.
Yes, that's just so people know to call me if they have an
Okay.
interest in it
Okay,
there.
gotcha.
If we get this approved, I'm gonna have another sign up next to it showing this, but.
Makes sense.
I really, my hands are kind of tied. We actually don't have our formal marketing, offering memorandum, as we call it, out for the property, just because we feel like we're getting so much interest, some might pan out, some might not, some may be somewhere in the middle, and take longer to pan out, but I've been very hesitant to get too far down the road in negotiations until I know that we're moving forward. And we have two good medical users that we're in touch with. We do a lot of medical real estate at Randall Commercial Group, so I feel like that's something that would be a great mix in here as well, so.
Well, to your point, there's a confidential list of potential residents coming in, and then you've got some others coming. But to the concerns about the list, number 13 is probably the one that stands out for me. Even though it's worded that motor vehicle sales, service, repair, but then salvage or junk or any major repair or storage equipment needs to be completely concealed. The opportunity for those type of junk, salvage, car dealership, that kind of thing, while they're probably needed at some point in this area, I don't think that property is the best location for it. So is that something we could either make that a conditional use or strike from this list?
Well, I'll say this, looking at that list, there's one that was recently approved in Oxford where it was a very nice oil change facility, wall-to-wall, red brick. It was kind of concealed from the main corridor, the way that you entered and left. That's something that, I could see, maybe not right in the front phase, but maybe somewhere.
Could we just reword it then, vehicle service and repair, and then?
And then leave the other off and let that.
Take salvage and junk and all that, just make it very clear on the type of auto service type businesses.
So just to clarify, we would leave motor service and repair in permitted, strike anything that says salvage and junk, and then motor sales, we could maybe move to conditional.
Yeah. What do y'all think?
Well,
it sounds like
the salvage and junk really doesn't, it's just saying if vehicles are in-op or damaged, they just gotta be concealed.
If you're going,
from
I would
everything.
ask for doctors and
With the- yeah, but
an
no more
upscale
Right.
development, it doesn't seem
Alleviating
like
my
something that's gonna be
concerns.
generating salvage and junk sitting around is gonna fit the mold
Right,
there.
and that's, again, when we took the list from C2, that's the same language that's in there.
Right.
I could see vehicle sales, especially along the interstate, kind of where you've got
Sure,
some
I could
visibility to
see,
get in.
motorcycle sales, I could see a nice-
Where they're doing repairs, I could see, a very nice oil change, type facility that's not, that where everything is, it's a lot of restrictions there.
Well, let me ask this, does this then allow, let's say, a wrecking company, a wrecking service?
It would have to be the most expensive. No, I think the way that we're planning this.
That's a separate definition completely.
Yeah, yes, we've just got it in there because that's the way it was worded in C2, but the salvage piece, I can assure you, is not something that's near and dear to my heart in any way on that. So the uses we just discussed are really why we just left it in and didn't change the wording with it being C2, so. Or being on the C2 list, rather.
So with the same,
I don't think
okay.
it's gonna be I don't think that's any kind of concern personally. Like, it's just in there, and even if it is, it's gonna be concealed. I think it's more for like a auto repair shop or auto body shop or something like that to hide everything that's damaged behind a fence. Kind of like you see down the road here at, what is it, Caliber, you don't see any of their vehicles, It's not like some of the other automotive shops where there's 40 vehicles scattered over 3 parking lots.
Right.
And 5 vehicles is not very many.
No.
Would the same be true of the wording that you mentioned, just kind of keeping that the same as you typed this, about on number 8, the check cashing and title loan? I mean, I would assume that's not kind of what you're going for.
Yeah, they're not included.
Oh, yes, they say it's not included.
We do.
Okay, gotcha, sorry,
Yes.
missed that.
No, that's fine. And that's kind of falling into the same vein as some of the other ones we've discussed. That, I mean, for what we had to pay for this dirt, and obviously it was a lot of convincing to get Dion to even carve this piece out. If it weren't for that natural Hurricane Creek tributary, she would have wanted us to buy 300 acres over there, which would have made it a project I'm not interested in because I don't do residential real estate. So Anyway, all that to be said, you know, the dirt was expensive, and, you know, with the cost of construction and all right now, I think there's certain uses that just aren't gonna be able to be there just by default of how expensive
Right.
the rent would be or the cost of ownership.
Any other questions for the applicant?
Thank you guys so much.
Anyone support or against this item? Please come forward. State your name and address. Yeah, motion to approve, deny, or table this item.
I'll make a motion to approve it, but if there's any, if I miss anything that, because I'm going to add a couple of things to my motion. Y'all just let me know. A motion to recommend approval to the Board of Aldermen of an application by DT Design representing the owner of the property for a zoning map amendment preliminary development plan approval, Mackinville Exchange, as detailed in the attached proposal. The subject property is located on the north side of I-269, east side of Mackinville Road, in Section 32, Township 2, Range 7, based upon the findings in 1, 2, 3, with a 4-year reverter break ground agreement, that the PUD is good for 4 years as approved, or reverts back to its previous zoning, with marijuana and vape shops or CBD store to be a conditional use and not a approved, allowed use, with, and processing and and number 16, processing and manufacturing incidental to a retail establishment, but which create no noticeable obnoxious effects to surrounding property owners or tenants, to be as a conditional use as well, and a hotel to be a conditional use as well.
A quick clarification on the breaking ground, just so we communicate that clearly to the board. Is that just utility infrastructure install?
PUD expires, right?
Well, you're talking about what they have to have done.
That's right.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
and I think that's fair. I don't really know the definition of that. What is in the, what does the ordinance say as far as?
It's a bit unclear. Like Hernando West, and this is kind of technically started. We've done sewer infrastructure and there's been a few lots, but something this small, you might just say, tie it to the submittal of construction plans or utility, because it's gonna take a while to run water to it and
I get
sewer.
it, yeah.
But just to clarify, just so I communicate it correctly to the board.
Let's say submittal of construction plans to begin construction, or I guess permitting plans to y'all is what you're asking, I think. That we're on the same page, I think.
That's fine, yeah,
Okay.
just what's the qualifier?
Yeah.
I have seen plans approved and sit on a shelf for a couple of years too.
Well, and that
Just-
was my concern. That's
that's
why I
not
was
a-
wondering about that.
You may want to make it some
What
earth
was it?
moving up, I don't know, something other than that, approval of plans.
Pad work has to start on at least one lot, I don't know, or roads. I mean, I don't know what we're
Yeah.
gonna look at.
Physical construction.
Physical construction. Okay,
Commencement
that's
of
fine.
physical construction.
That's fair enough. And I think physical construction includes dirt, earth moving.
Well, there's also this instance where dirt starts to move and then everything shuts down for 2 years.
There may not be a
Empty lot.
perfect answer. I think the intent is there.
Yeah.
We removing the submittal of construction plans and
Yes, I think so.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
Commissioner Thorne,
Aye.
Commissioner Sadley,
Aye.
Commissioner Jordan,
Aye.
Commissioner Arndt,
Aye.
Commissioner Max,
Aye.
Commissioner Ashworth,
Aye.
Commissioner Skeen.
Aye.
Motion to approve this item passes.
Look. Appreciate all your help.
Sure. See you next Tuesday.
Good man right there. See you guys next week.
Hey, you just gotta bring a Costco over there.
You've got the contact.
I don't. You're the real estate guy, not me.
I'm expecting Chip to help me out with the marketing a little bit too. You guys
I said, we need a fan of Johnny's is what we need over
Oh,
there.
yeah. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
All right, our next item is a variance, PL 1888, A to Z fence variance. Request for a variance of a design regulation regarding fencing at 2593 Highway 51 North. The subject property is located on the west side of Highway 51, south of Starlanding Road. A to Z, the owner. Mr. Cardoso, please present the staff report and comment.
Yes, sir. This is Project PL 1888. A to Z Advertising at 2593 Highway 51 North is requesting to build a dog enclosure fence on the side of their building. The property is zoned commercial and is at a commercial structure, and so with the C1 zoning that's in place, chain link is not allowed, and so that's the purpose of the variance tonight. I'll read these quickly for the record, but the approval or denial criteria: the special conditions or circumstances exist that are peculiar to land, structures, or buildings involved, and are not generally applicable to other land, structures, or buildings in the same district. That the literal enforcement of the provisions of these standards would deprive the applicant of rights commonly enjoyed by other properties within the same district under the terms of this ordinance. Special conditions or circumstances don't result in the actions of the applicant, not based upon economic considerations. In granting the variance requested would not confer on the applicant any special privilege otherwise denied by the ordinance to other land, structures, or buildings in the same district. The applicant did provide responses to each of those. On the site map, I've shown kind of generally where the fence will be located, is proposed to be located. It is a unique site. It's well off of Highway 51. I don't think the fence will be visible from Highway 51. It's on a private drive behind two existing structures. And the commercial zoning, as I mentioned, is kind of what's triggered the requirement for the prohibition of chain link. The purpose of it is for a dog fence for some of the employees to bring their pets to work. And you can see on the site map the surrounding zonings and kind of where this is physically located on the site off of Highway 51. And the yellow X's generally show where that fence is proposed to go. Ms. Judy Kendall's here tonight, representing the application. I'm available if you got any questions.
Okay. My dogs want to see
Please
out.
state your name and
Oh,
address.
Judy Kendall, 799 Palmer, Hernando. It's my home address, right? So anyway, look, I got 5 dogs coming. I got from a little bitty Yorkie that they bring to the office, to my little medium-sized dogs, to 2 bigger dogs, and, I need a big dog enclosure. I got a dog door where they can get out, and I have reasons I don't want to use anything else because I want to be able to see in there. I want the dogs to be able to see out, but I want everyone that's coming in to see that there are dogs there and that they are contained when customers come in, because we are a unique site. I know Kristen's been out there. I don't know if any of you guys have been out there, but it's very unique. It's a unique situation, and nobody else is around there, the graveyard, and I know it's not going to bother those people. And then there's nothing behind us, and I'm not even sure what is behind there, but I think it's like there's ditch, and there, there's going to be commercial property behind us into the future. But I don't see how, I need that dog enclosure to keep little dogs in. And where, like wrought iron, little dog's gonna go through. And we're gonna get another little puppy before this is over with, because Lisa's gonna get one of the girls in the office. And I want people to see that the big dogs are out there when they come in case there's riffraff, And at some point, I might even keep a dog out there if I thought there was riffraff, to live out there. But anyway, I don't think it would bother anybody. We're very much enclosed. We always have the dogs out there anyway, but I don't want them running up and getting killed they've actually been to the graveyard and tinkled on the graves, and I don't like that either, so that's disrespectful, so I don't know what to do. They want me to do this, and I want to do it, and I don't think it'll bother anybody. It's all my land, and nobody else is around us except, like I said, the graveyard, and then the Jehovah's Witness. There have been times they've run too far over there, and I want to keep it contained. This would be on the opposite side, on the west side. Anyway, that's really all I have to say. I don't think it would bother anybody, and I think it would be the best looking option, considering we've just improved the property considerably and enlarged it. I think that it's going to be, nobody's going to see this except when you drive up, and I think it will be the most appropriate, because I really am not fond of wood residential looking. I'm not fond of wrought iron. They could get in and out. I think that looks, I just think it'd be the most appropriate for little dogs. Y'all want to ask me any questions? Because this is real uncomfortable for me.
Sorry.
I think we need to be, I'm with you on the being dog friendly. I'm with you on being dog
Well,
friendly.
yeah, I know the ladies
Work
would want to
friendly.
do, you know, I could probably steal a couple of them to work for me, just have a nap, you know?
Help me out with, I'm looking at the map. Your business is all the way at the back, the dead end area?
Yes.
The last
yes,
building?
Yes.
What kind of, I'm not following.
I sell the embroidery and trinkets and trash and whatever you put your name on. Is that what you're asking me?
Yeah, the dogs are unrelated
just
to the
their-
business.
It's just their personal.
Yeah, the dogs are
employees' dogs.
not, they're just to
Thank
keep
you.
employees
That's all I
happy.
needed. I was had a little fog right there.
We sell all the shirts that y'all don't have on tonight, yeah. If you had your apartment planning, yes. And we do a lot of wholesale and retail, mostly wholesale, probably. Or big commercial.
Any other questions for that?
Any other questions?
Do you own the property, or are
I
you
do.
just a lease?
Free and clear, yes,
Okay.
sir. Building free and clear, yes, sir. And I've just made serious improvements, all free and clear. I am not gonna ugly up my property. You should see it. It's very beautiful, I will say. if I must
I
say.
drove by today. It is pretty.
Did you?
I did. I almost got my vehicle stuck in the little mud because I didn't want to pull all the way in the parking lot, like right where the cemetery is.
Oh, in that little roundabout? Well, yeah, I'm gonna be working on that. It's gonna be my next project. Getting that thing, getting them to coordinate, but coordinating with the church is a little difficult. Nobody seems to own it, so I don't know. But I'd love to have that driveway repaved all the way to 51. But anyway.
Yeah.
Dogs.
Thank
Good.
you.
I'm good. Sit down. Thank you.
Anybody support or against this item? Is there a motion to approve, deny, or table this item?
I'll make a motion to approve a variance allowing a black coated chain link fence to be located on the west side of Highway 51 North, south side of Star Landing Road, more specifically 2593 Highway 51 North, based upon the following findings, A through D.
Second.
Commissioner Thorne?
Aye.
Commissioner Safley?
Aye.
Commissioner Jordan?
Aye.
Commissioner Arnold?
Aye.
Commissioner Mack?
Aye.
Commissioner Ashworth?
Aye.
Commissioner King?
Aye.
The motion to pass this item, to approve this item passes.
Maybe I'll see y'all out there buying some shirts in a minute. Really nice, all matchy. Just saying. Am I good?
You
Yes,
good?
ma'am.
Thank you guys very much. Awesome. Thank you for your help. Thank you, guys.
Next item is PL 1891, May Minor Subdivision. Request for final plat approval of 7 lots on 1.72 acres. The subject property is located on the north side of Oak Grove Road, east of Fletcher, in Section 13, Township 3, Range 8, Area Mays, the owner. Mr. Condoza, please present your
I need to
planning comment.
recuse myself on this one.
All right.
All right, PL 1891, the request is for Area Mays minor subdivision. We don't do many of these with being a minor subdivision, but this is a preliminary and final at the same time. There are no public improvements since the roads are already built, and I'll explain a little bit more here in just a second. But Miss Area Mays is here tonight representing the application as the owner of the property. This is on the north side of Oak Grove Road, east of Fletcher Street, in Section 13, Township 3, Range 8. The request is for 7 lots and 1.72 acres. The existing zoning is R10, so the R10 allows for a 10,000 square foot lot. There are existing homes on the lot, on lots 1 and lot 3, are proposed to remain, and those driveways would have to be revised to be located on its own lot. The new lots 2 and lot 4 are proposed to be serviced off of Oak Grove Road, similar to everything else going up and down Oak Grove Road. And then along the rear of the property, there's open area that's proposed to be 3 lots, 1 to front Fletcher Street and 2 to be served off a private driveway, which is on the north side of that site. Lot 6 and 7 would be serviced off that private driveway, and Lot 5 would be directly accessing Fletcher Street. We did send this to city engineering for some feedback of, just generally speaking, since this is a preliminary and a final at the same time. We did receive a recommendation to improve the sight line at the corner of Fletcher and Oak Grove. There is an existing hill that engineers recommended to be fixed with this project, and so they recommended to clear that corner enough and do an excavation enough to clear the sight line. And then also to provide finished floor elevations on lots 5, 6, and 7. They do sit lower than the existing lots, and they are not in the floodplain, but engineering recommended that we provide for finished floor elevations on those lots. And that's been communicated with the client. But so the general proposal is for 7 lots on the existing acreage. And the 25-foot ingress egress easement would be a private driveway to service those lots in the rear. Ms. Mays is here tonight, and I'm available if you got any questions.
All right, would the applicant please come forward and state your name and address in its entirety?
My name is Area Mays. My address is 2154 Pleasant Bend Drive, Hernando, Mississippi. I am proposing to build 5 new construction brick home in the location that he's mentioned, with meeting all the city requirements that's necessary.
So will each lot on Oak Grove have its own driveway, or are you doing shared access?
No, each one will have their own driveway.
Lot 2 is showing an existing structure. Is that shared with one of the current land, is it?
No, they have separate driveways, but they're both on the lots existing.
I think he's talking about in between the 2 houses.
In between that lot, where Lot 2 is, there's a,
Okay, you asking, is that? Oh,
Is that
that's
a
just
shed or something?
Yeah, that's just a shed. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's just a shed that'll be torn down, be removed.
so is the person that lives at 970, are they using that land right there? Is that?
No.
I'm confused. That's just a random shed between 2 houses?
It's a shed that we own that's on the lots. So
Oh,
we
that's-
own all the lots.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, so it's a shed that we own. We'll remove that shed when we get ready
Gotcha.
to
Okay.
build the new construction homes.
My question wasn't clear. Thank you.
But it won't, will the lots 5, 6, and 7, they won't go all the way back to Fletcher Street?
No. So lots 1 through 4 is located on Oak Grove Road. So we have to put a private drive there.
But you're basically, I guess, taking some property away from the other lots on Fletcher Street already in the back?
Right. So I guess they will enter from Fletcher Street. You're absolutely right about that.
I'm guessing, is it gonna be some kind of gravel drive or paved drive, or?
Yeah, there'll be a paved driveway. It won't be
That's
gravel.
my next question. So that 25-foot ingress, is that?
It'll have to be paved,
It will
just
be
with our
paved.
regs.
Seems like we're just squeezing these in, but I guess they're 10,000 square foot lots, so they meet the R10 requirements, how it's currently zoned.
You know, going back to what Commissioner Jeffley said earlier, that it's having a good balance and a good mix throughout the city, right? Smaller homes, smaller lots. That's a good spot to have them.
And you're only adding 5 houses, I guess. 2 of them already existing.
And we're not invading areas where there's larger houses, so
Yeah.
we're just sort of keeping them more similar.
My only concern is adding more driveways, more traffic right across the street from the school, so.
Well, they just got to get out before 2, that's all.
And before 7. But they can take,
I have an odd
They can always
question
go
on
the
that.
other way and go up.
the houses on Fletcher can, yeah, well, yeah, I mean, all of them can.
Yeah.
I just have an odd question about the lot lines. On lot 3 and 4, it looks like the back of the lot goes a little farther, taking away from what 67 would be. Is that the existing lots? I mean, like, I don't, with the existing lot, but is that little hook?
I think it has to in order to make it 10,000 square feet.
That's right.
Yeah.
They have to.
Okay, yep.
That's why I say
Yeah.
they're
That makes sense.
squeezing it in.
Any other question for the applicant? Anyone in support or against this item, please come forward. Is there a motion to approve, deny, or table this item?
I'll make a motion to grant final plat approval for the area, for Area Maze minor subdivision. 7 lots, 1.72 acres, located on the north side of Oak Grove Road, east side of Fletcher Street, in Section 13, Township 3, Range 8. Based upon the finding that the submitted final plat generally conforms to the approved preliminary plan for the planned unit development and generally meets the requirements of the city's codes and ordinances, subject to the following conditions, 1 through 11.
Second.
Commissioner Thorne,
Aye.
Commissioner Safley,
Aye.
Commissioner Jordan,
Nay.
Commissioner Arndt,
Aye.
Commissioner Max,
Aye.
Commissioner Ashworth,
Aye.
Motion to approve this item passes. All right, next item.
Tuesday night is the second. Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
can you grab
Choice.
Kenny,
I'll have to like it.
Mr. Ashworth?
That's what it is.
Under conditions.
Next item is PL 1892, Chapel Grove, Phase 3. Request for final plat approval of 18 lots on 16.2 acres located on the west side of Robinson Gin Road, south of Oak Grove Road in Section 23, Township 3, Range 8, and Zone PUD. Blank Mendraw representing the owner, Butch Davis. Mr. Cordova, present the staff plan report and comment.
Yes, sir. The remaining subdivision applications on the agenda tonight are final plats based on a preliminary plat. So this one's 1892 Chapel Grove Phase 3, final subdivision plat of 18 lots on 16.2 acres. The existing zoning is PUD, and this would be the third phase. And so the public infrastructure, the roads are already in this development. So this is just requesting to physically record those lots along that southern boundary way. As I mentioned, this is a little over 16 acres for an additional 18 lots. The zoning was approved back in 2019, and with that zoning of PUD, that serves as the preliminary plat. And so this final plat does substantially conform to the preliminary plat approved in the PUD. If you look in the third, fourth page, or fourth and fifth page of your staff report, that those yellow lines are the PUD that was approved, and the plat shows it's basically the southern portion of that loop is what he's requesting to record tonight. This is the same subdivision conditions we've included in the previous sections. And Greg Smith is here tonight representing the application. I'm available if you got any questions.
Any question, Mr. Cordova?
Greg Smith, 2595 Country Club Road. I have nothing further to add unless y'all have questions.
So, question about the gate between there and Montclair. Is that supposed to be open all the time, or open and close, or?
It's, the fire code requires it for full access, and so if it closes, it's required to automatically open. I think they've been having some troubles with the automatic opener, but it's designed to open and close as it sees traffic, but the fire code requires it to open every single time, or I guess stay open.
I see it open all the time. I just didn't know if it closed ever. or
It's had
what
some
it was,
troubles,
so
I think, in working order.
Thank you. Anyone support against this item? There a motion to approve, deny, or table this item?
I make a motion to grant final plat approval for Chapel Grove PUD Phase 3, 18 lots consisting of 16.2 acres located on the northwest side of Robinson Gin Road, southwest of Pondview Circle, northeast of Green Village, and Section 23, Township 3, Range 8. Based upon the following findings, this middle plat generally conforms to the approved preliminary plan for the planned unit development and generally meets the city's codes and ordinances, subject to the following conditions, 1 through 12.
Have a second?
Second.
Commissioner Thorne?
Aye.
Commissioner Safley?
Aye.
Commissioner Jordan?
Aye.
Commissioner Arndt?
Aye.
Commissioner Mack?
Aye.
Commissioner Ashworth?
Aye.
Commissioner Skeen?
Aye.
Motion to approve this item passes. Next item is PL 1894, Getwell and Holly Springs. Request final approval, plat approval for 1.86 acres. The subject property is located on the south side of Holly Springs Road, west of Getwell in in Section 23, Township 3, Range 7. West. And representing the owner. Mr. Condola,
Yes, sir, this is PL 1894. The request is final subdivision plat approval, Holly Springs and Getwell C4. With this being the C4, the rezoning in 2024 that was approved by the Board of Aldermen served as that preliminary plat. And so the current parcel has 2 acres, but has never received final plat approval. So the request tonight is to receive that final plat approval. As I mentioned, it's zone C4 commercial. Design review is ongoing. They're getting close to pulling a building permit. And this does conform to the preliminary plan that was approved for that C4 zoning. As the others, this will also be heard by the Board of Aldermen on May 20th. And I did provide a proposed motion in the staff report that covers all of our required improvements for curb and gutter and sidewalk that'll be required on the frontage of this property. And there's a proposed motion in your staff report including all that. Shane King is here tonight, representing the application. I'm available if you got any questions.
applicant, please come forward, state your name and address.
I'm Shane King, 1207 Office Park Drive, Oxford, Mississippi. And again, I don't have anything to add. We're just, like Austin said, we're in site plan review currently, so we're just doing what we can to move forward with this project. Thank you.
For or against? Is there a motion to approve, deny, or table this item?
I'll make a motion to grant final plat approval to Shane King of Houston Engineering, representing the owner of the property for 1 lot on 2 acres. I think that's maybe. The subject property is located on the south side of Holly Springs Road, west of Getwell Road, in sections 21, Township 3, and Range 7, and generally meets the requirements of the city's codes and ordinance, subject to 1 through 9.
A second?
Second.
Commissioner Thorne?
Aye.
Commissioner Safley?
Aye.
Commissioner Jordan?
Aye.
Commissioner Arndt?
Aye.
Commissioner Mack?
Aye.
Commissioner Ashworth?
Aye.
Commissioner Skeen?
Aye.
Motion to approve this item passes.
Thought there was something else supposed to be there. I was reading it.
It almost was like a play on words. Where it, like,
Yeah,
it looked like
I
it
wasn't
converted
sure,
it.
yeah.
Next item is PL 1895, Pleasant Hill and McInville. Request for final plat approval on 1 lot on 4 acres. The subject property is located on the southwest corner of McInville and Pleasant Hill Road, specifically 933 Pleasant Hill Road in Section 30, Township 2, Range 7. Brian Houston, representing the owner. Mr. Condoza.
Yes, sir. This is PL 1895. Very similar to the last application. This is a request for final subdivision plat approval at Pleasant Hill and McInville. This parcel currently includes 4 acres, but has not received final plat approval. And also similar to the last application, was approved for a C4 commercial rezoning, which served as that preliminary plat. And so the request tonight is to plat and record that 4 acres so they can move forward with the development plan. Parcel's also in site plan review, and the grading permit's been issued to coordinate with the road project we have at the corner of that intersection to approve some sight lines. The design review is ongoing. I did provide a proposed motion. Commissioner Jordan, that same edit is in this motion as well. But Shane King's here tonight representing this application, and I'm available if you have any questions.
A question, Mr. Cardozo? Applicant, come forward and state your name and address.
I'm Shane King, 1207 Office Park, Oxford, Mississippi, and this is just like the last one. We're doing them jointly. So this is all just house cleaning, keeping all the plats and everything good to go. Thank you.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Anybody for or against? Is there a motion to approve, deny, or table this item?
I'll make a motion to grant final plat approval to Shane King with Houston Engineering representing the owner of the property for one lot on 4 acres. The subject property is located on the south side of Pleasant Hill Road, west of Mackinville Road, in sections 30, Township 2, and Range 7, and generally meets the requirements of the city's codes and ordinances. I can't talk either. Subject to the following conditions, 1 through 9.
Is there a second?
Second.
Commissioner Thorne?
Aye.
Commissioner Safley?
Aye.
Commissioner Jordan?
Aye.
Commissioner Art?
Aye.
Commissioner Mack?
Aye.
Commissioner Ashworth?
Aye.
Commissioner Skibby?
Aye.
Motion to approve, that item passes. The next item is PL 1897. Chapel Grove subdivision, first revision. Request for amendment of one lot revising an existing lot line. The subject property is located on the west side of Robertson Ginn Road, south of Oak Grove Road in section 23, Township 3, Range 8, and is zone PUD. Brandon Gustafson is the owner. Mr. Cardozo, present your report and comment.
Yes, sir. This is PL 1897. The request is to move a lot line between lots 9 and 10. There was a bit of an issue with pouring the driveway. It went over the lot by just a small bit. So the revised plat is just scooting the line over enough to accommodate for that driveway pour to be located all on one lot. Brendan Gustafson's here tonight representing the application. Both lot owners agree, and so they're just requesting to replat that one lot to fix the driveway issue. The proposed motions in your staff report, there are no conditions on that since this is just a lot line. I'm available if you got any questions, and Brandon's here tonight representing the application.
I'm just curious, so the driveway was sharing 2 lots?
I think it just poured a bit too wide, or Brandon can probably explain it a little bit better.
So Brandon Gustafson, 6193 Pleasant Hill Drive, Hernando. So it's a pie-shaped lot in a cove, and basically it's very narrow at the front, and I made a mistake. I got over the line a little bit, so I'm just asking to revise it just a hair to make it right.
There's nobody living there now yet?
No, it's new homes being built. Yeah. And basically,
Is there, I guess just a curious thing, isn't there an easement is that right on the border?
I don't think there's
Required
a
setback. I'm not familiar with
required
one. This one's
setback.
physically over the line, which is what's triggered the,
Yeah, I know, but when we move the line to accommodate that, how far over the line is there?
for the driveway, no, that you can put it on the line.
Put it right on the line.
Didn't want to wait here 2 hours again.
no, didn't think that was going to be my position on the docket.
All right, anybody support or against? Is there a motion to approve, deny, or table this item?
I'll try to read. I'll make a motion to grant final plat approval for Chapel Grove PUD First Revision as shown on the attached plat located in the northwest side of Robertson Ginn Road, southwest of Pondview Circle, northeast of Green Village Drive, in Section 23, Township 3, Range 8, based upon the finding that the submitted final plat generally conforms to the approved preliminary plat for the planned unit development and generally meets the requirements of the city's code and ordinances.
Second.
Commissioner Thorne?
Aye.
Commissioner Safley?
Aye.
Commissioner Jordan?
Aye.
Commissioner Arndt?
Aye.
Commissioner Mack?
Aye.
Commissioner Ashworth?
Aye.
Commissioner Skeen?
Aye.
Motion to approve this item passes.
Thank y'all.
Next, we have project number PL 1668, which is concurrence pertaining to Dunning Estates.
Yes, sir.
So, update us on-
So basically, this was already approved by the board and the planning commission back in 2022 for a final plat. The request is to, you may remember, they came through with the PUD to do 2 lots on East Valley Street for 2 single-family homes and separate it out from the other lot that fronts Commerce. So it was approved, it went through the process, and it was never physically recorded. They're ready to move forward with that recording. And the final plat's already been issued, but we're not allowed to record that final plat without a concurrence from the planning commission, just granting us the authority to record that plat, so.
These are the 2 lots behind the post office, right?
Yes. Kind of back, really behind the hardware store, but kind of catty corner of the post office. So the request tonight is for concurrence so they can record the plat.
Any other question, Mr. Cados? Motion to approve, deny, or table this item.
Make a motion to grant final plat approval to Greg Smith of Mendrop Engineering Resources, representing Mr. Butch Davis, owner of the property, for final plat approval for the Dunning Estates final plat. 3 lots on 1.53 acres located in the south side of East Valley Street, east of Northview Street, and west of Northern Street, in Section 13 and 18, Township 3 South, Range 7 and 8 West. Following items 1 through 10.
Yes.
Second.
Commissioner Thorne? Commissioner Safley?
Aye.
Commissioner Jordan?
Nay.
Commissioner Arndt?
Aye.
Commissioner Mack?
Aye.
Commissioner Ashworth?
Aye.
Commissioner Skeen?
Aye.
Motion to approve this item passes. Next, we have on the agenda is the amendment to the required off-street parking requirement.
Yes, sir. So this is something we've been working on internally for a while, and C3, I've included a map in your staff report of where C3 is. And it is basically downtown Hernando, the square, and downtown Nesbit. And in downtown Nesbit, there are several buildings under some pretty neat little redevelopments just to kind of clean it up and shape it up. And then downtown is anything in and around the square. In commercial zoning, there are just our basic requirements for parking. So commercial retail sales is 1 space per 200 square foot of retail area. So that means you have to have a parking lot for that area and that many spaces. And it goes through office, hotels, et cetera. As you guys know, downtown, it's not possible to be compliant. So the buildings we have currently downtown, there are no parking lots because that's just kind of how downtowns develop. And so it's always been this odd thing of like, it's not really, there's no way to enforce it because there's no parking lot for the folks to do. There's shared parking on the square, there's on-street parking all around. And so we did some research of other towns of how that's kind of handled. And usually in downtown districts, there are no parking minimums. It encourages a garage to be built either by the city or by a private developer. It removes a barrier for entry for someone coming in to want to build on the square. They would not have to build a parking lot or get a variance because it's not really even possible to do. So more than anything, we're just trying to remove a rule that's not possible to be complied with. And so this is only for the C3 district, which is downtown Nesbit and downtown Hernando, and the map's in there. And the proposal is just to strike it completely, just to put it back on the property owner on their parking requirement, to kind of take the city out of it. We do have timed parking on the square already, and it's
Not enforced, but yes.
it's there, but this is just so that the business owner, like a Windy City, doesn't have the opportunity to even comply. And just trying to remove that. And so that's the proposal in front of you tonight, and we'll pitch it to the board as well, but wanted to bring it in front of y'all for a recommendation.
I can understand it in those areas. Makes sense.
I see it too, but I see people that try to be creative in creating parking when they build down there, and that, sometimes that doesn't work out all that well, and it causes problems, so I'm totally for this.
Yeah, any other question, Mr. Cados?
Kids out there build a parking lot in the backyard.
Charge $5.
Parking cars for the hay fair this weekend.
Is that why you're letting all that grass grow back there?
Working on that.
All right, is there a motion to approve the parking, removing the parking requirement for the C3 district?
Motion.
Second.
Commissioner Thorne?
Aye.
Commissioner Lawley?
Aye.
Commissioner Jordan?
Aye.
Commissioner Aaron?
Aye.
Commissioner Max?
Aye.
Commissioner Ashworth? Commissioner Stevens?
Aye.
Motion to approve that item passes. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion adjourned.
Second.
Last one here, sis.
All right.